Is it possible that as companies implement security systems, that some of those controls they're putting in place are going to hamper the functionality and the usability of those systems? Well, the answer, fortunately for the attacker and the hacker, is yes. Security controls do make it less easy to use systems. And as a result, if companies have not used the appropriate controls, that's going to allow more vulnerabilities to be present. And that, my friend, gives the attacker and hacker an advantage. I still remember a fantastic show called Get Smart. It was a series, probably back in the 70s is when it happened, about a secret agent, Maxwell Smart, who's Agent 86 and the beautiful Agent 99. And as part of that show, they had lots of contraptions to help enforce security. For example, in the opening of the show, they showed Maxwell Smart walking through just layer after layer of walls and walls and walls to go ahead and finally get to a secure location. Another example of them implementing security was the cone of silence, which just was never convenient, and as part of the show, never worked very well. And regarding keeping our data safe and our information safe, we're really torn between three aspects: functionality, which refers to the features and functionality of a system. For example, we may be printing or using some type of a network system or a computer service. That's referring to the functionality. There's also usability. How easy is it for that user to use that function? For example, is there a graphical user interface? Or is there a voice interaction like many of our smartphones have today? And then, of course, to keep everything safe, we have security. And we have lots of different controls in place: administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls. And here's what we're going to discover. The more security we implement, the less functionality and the less usability is going to be present. An example is a computer system that's locked away in a physical location that we don't have remote access to. We have to physically go to that computer to access it. The usability and functionality is going to suffer, but the security improves because it cannot be remotely accessed. So with information security, we're trying to avoid the theft, tampering, as well as disruption. And one of the common methods for remembering our controls and thinking about how to protect our systems is to use CIA. It's an acronym. It might stand for the Central Intelligence Agency, or it could help us remember some of the core components for InfoSec. And with CIA, the C stands for confidentiality, which implies that only the individuals or entities that are supposed to see the data can see the data. Popular ways of implementing confidentiality would include encryption, so that data sitting on a disk or data that's in transit over the network, if it's encrypted and it gets into the wrong hands, the hacker, the wrong hands, if they don't have the keys, can't unlock the data and can't see it. The I is to remind us of data integrity. And integrity is referring to the trustworthiness of the data, to have a high confidence level that it hasn't been manipulated or changed by unauthorized individuals or systems, so that we can trust the data. The A is representing availability, which implies that the authorized users of data and systems should have access to those data and systems and not have that access be taken away by an unauthorized party. For example, an attacker who's launching a denial of service attack, bringing down systems that otherwise should be up and available. Now, integrated into that CIA, there's also two other bullet points that I want to share with you. And one is authenticity, which I think really ties into data integrity, which goes back to the idea that the data that we're seeing is trustworthy. It's been maintained and kept in an accurate state so we can trust that data. Another aspect is non-repudiation. And non-repudiation is the concept where somebody cannot say, "It wasn't me," or "I didn't get it." For example, if we have log files that are tracking all the details of changes that are happening to a computer system or to a computer network, and we're using multi-factor authentication, which means we're using two or more factors, for example, maybe biometrics, as well as a token for authenticating each of the administrators, and an administrator has logged on, they've made a change, and that's recorded in the logs. That is one aspect of non-repudiation, because that administrator can't come back, for example, tomorrow and say, "Nope, it wasn't me. It was you, Mr. Admin. We have the documented details regarding how you logged in at this time, you made this change at that time." And that's a desirable attribute for information security, is non-repudiation. And that concept of non-repudiation could be applied to, for example, a message that was sent. And the sender of that message, if they later claimed, "Oh, it wasn't me," couldn't make that claim stand because of the systems and details in place that are documenting who that user was and how they sent the message. In this nugget, we've identified some basic goals of information security. We've also identified that we're going to lose some usability and functionality the more security controls are in place. And the answer to the question, why is that important to know, is because we're going to find additional vulnerabilities in systems and networks because They want functionality and usability, and they have been too light or not as controlling as they should have been in setting up their InfoSec controls. I'm glad you joined me for this nugget. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.